Nobody in Juniper Crossing knew a girl was still alive inside the cursed Bellamy Ranch. The day Nathaniel Hart bought the abandoned county claim on that ranch for $1, he was not chasing a future. He was running from disgrace. 3 weeks earlier, men in clean coats had laughed him out of a San Antonio bank office.
A dreamer.
They called him reckless. They called him a dreamer. Then a man Nate had once trusted like a brother leaned across the polished desk and said,
"Art, you don't have the sense God gave a fence post."
Those words followed Nate all the way north. They followed him along the dusty road. They followed him through sleepless nights. They followed him until shame felt heavier than the saddlebag hanging from his horse. Welcome to another story from the frontier. I'm Abel Beecham, though most folks in Ash Ridge call me Mr. B. This tale comes from Juniper Crossing, where folks called Bellamy Ranch cursed. But some curses are only buried guilt, and this one began with the ruined man riding toward Juniper Crossing, with shame in his chest and $1 left to his name. By the time he reached a tired little land office outside Juniper Crossing, Nate was not looking for a dream. He was looking for somewhere to disappear. So when a weary land clerk told him about a dead ranch nearby, cursed, abandoned, and tangled in old debts, Nate listened. "County records list the Bellamy claim as abandoned," the clerk said. $1 transfers the holding claim, but it does not clear the old debts. Nate looked down at the paper. $1, the clerk added. That is all the county is asking. Nate signed before courage could leave him. Before Nate could ride out to the ranch, the land clerk told him one more thing. "You'll want to speak with Mr. Graye at the bank," the clerk said. "He holds most of the old Bellamy debt papers." Nate folded the claim paper and tucked it inside his coat. He told himself he was not buying hope. He was buying distance. A place where no one knew his name. A place where no banker could smirk at him. A place where a ruined man could disappear without anyone asking what had broken him. But as Nate rode toward Juniper Crossing's main street, the sky turned the color of bruised copper. The prairie wind pushed dust across the trail like a warning. For the first time, Nate wondered if a man could truly hide inside a curse, or if the curse had been waiting for him. Juniper Crossing knew about Nate before Nate knew anything about it. By noon, every face in town seemed to turn when he rode past. Men paused outside the mercantile. A woman at the well stopped drawing water. 2 others lowered their voices, then looked toward the east road that led to Bellamy Ranch. Nate felt their stares, but he kept riding. If the town wanted to whisper, let it whisper. He had heard worse in San Antonio. The land clerk had told him to speak with Warren Graye before riding out to the ranch, so Nate tied his horse outside Juniper Crossing Bank and stepped inside. Graye stood behind a polished counter, dressed better than any man Nate had seen in weeks. His smile was calm. His voice was smoother than oil. "So you are the man the county handed the Bellamy claim to?" Nate nodded. "Paid $1 for it." Graye's smile did not move. "A clerical mistake can still be expensive, Mr. Hart." Nate felt the warning beneath the polite words. Graye sighed like a preacher grieving over a lost soul. "Then I hope you understand what you've taken on. That land has ruined every man who touched it. Drought, debt, sickness, strange lights after dark. Folks around here stopped calling it a ranch years ago." "What do they call it?" Nate asked. Graye's eyes cooled. "A warning." Nate left the bank with those words pressed deep in his chest. When he reached Bellamy Ranch near sundown, he understood why people feared it. The fences sagged like tired bones. The troughs were dry and cracked. The windmill stood still against the burning sky, its blades frozen in the dusty air. And the house. The house looked as if a family had walked out one morning and hope had followed them. Nate stayed in the saddle, staring across the dead yard. For $1, he had not bought peace. He had bought silence, dust, and ruin. Then, from inside the dark house, something moved. Nate slid down from his horse and stood in the dead yard, staring at the dark house. Something had moved inside. His hand went to the old pistol at his hip, though he had never been quick with it, and did not trust himself to start now. "Who's there?" he called. The house answered with silence. Then came the soft scrape of a floorboard. Nate stepped onto the porch. The boards groaned beneath his boots. The front door hung crooked and half open, moving gently in the wind. He pushed it wider and stepped inside. The air smelled of dust, old smoke, and something else. Food. Nate saw jars stacked beneath the kitchen table, quilts folded against the wall, a bucket of tools near the back door, school books tied with string, a worn Bible resting on a chair as if someone had just set it down. This house was not empty. A shadow moved near the kitchen cupboard. Nate turned toward it and lifted his empty hand, keeping the pistol low at his side. "I won't hurt you." From behind the cupboard, a girl's voice trembled. "That's what men say before they do." Nate froze. A thin girl stepped into the dim light, holding a rusted garden fork like a spear. Her dress was patched. Her hair hung in uneven brown braids. Her eyes were sharp, frightened, and burning with more courage than her small frame should have held. "I'm Rose Bellamy," she said, "and this is my home." Nate stared at her. Everyone in town had spoken of Bellamy Ranch like it was dead. But here stood a living girl. "The ghost lights," Nate whispered. Rose lifted her chin, though both hands still shook around the garden fork. "My lantern," she said. "I used it when I went to the root cellar after dark." Nate looked again at the jars, the quilts, the tools, the Bible, and the school books. Not a haunting. A child surviving alone. And in that broken house, Nate understood the first terrible truth of Bellamy Ranch. It had not been cursed. It had been abandoned. Rose had not yet lowered the garden fork when a wagon rattled into the yard. Nate turned toward the open front door. Through the doorway, he saw a woman climb down from the wagon with a medicine satchel in one hand and a rifle tucked under her other arm. She had heard in town that a stranger had bought the Bellamy claim, and some old worry had pulled her out to the ranch before sundown. She wore a plain gray dress, dusty at the hem, and her dark hair was pinned back with no care for vanity. Her eyes went first to Nate, then to Rose. The color left her face. "Dear Lord," she whispered. "Rose Bellamy." Rose's mouth trembled. "Miss Miriam." Miriam stopped cold. Rose still held the garden fork in both hands. Nate stood a few feet away with the pistol low at his side. "Put that pistol away," Miriam said. Nate slowly slid the pistol back into its holster and lifted both hands where she could see them. Only then did Miriam cross the room. She set the rifle against the wall near the door, knelt in front of Rose, and pulled the girl into her arms. Rose held stiff for one heartbeat. Then she broke against Miriam like a child who had forgotten she was allowed to cry. The garden fork slipped from Rose's hand and clattered softly onto the floor. Nate stood back, ashamed to witness it. Miriam looked over Rose's shoulder at him, and all the softness vanished from her eyes. "What are you doing here with this girl?" "I bought the ranch claim," Nate said. "I only found her moments ago." Miriam did not look convinced. "Men say many things when a girl has no one to speak for her." Rose pulled away just enough to look at her. "He didn't hurt me." "That may be true," Miriam said gently. "But I'll decide what is safe after I see it with my own eyes." She opened her medicine satchel and checked Rose's hands, arms, and face. Her touch was careful, but her jaw was tight with old pain. "I thought I saw lantern light out here more than once," Miriam said quietly. "I wondered if someone was still coming to this place. I told the sheriff. I told Mr. Graye. They said grief can make a widow see things that are not there." Rose lowered her eyes. Miriam swallowed hard. "And I let them make me believe it." Outside, the wind pushed through the dead windmill. Inside, 3 wounded strangers stood in the same broken house. and none of them trusted the others enough to feel safe. By morning, word had reached Juniper Crossing. A Bellamy girl was alive, and a ruined stranger was living on her land. Before noon, Warren Graye came up the ranch road in a black buggy polished too clean for the dust. The sheriff sat beside him, silent beneath a sweat-stained hat, his eyes avoiding Rose on the porch. Rose stood close to Miriam, but she did not hide. Nate stood one step lower, in the yard between Rose and the buggy. Graye climbed down slowly, wearing that same sorrowful smile. "Miss Bellamy," he said, "this is a most troubling surprise." Rose's hands tightened in her skirt. "It's my home." Graye folded his hands. "That is what makes it difficult. Your grandfather is absent. The debts remain unpaid. Taxes have gathered. And this property was legally considered abandoned." Nate stepped forward. "I bought the ranch claim from the county." "You bought a complication," Graye replied smoothly. "Not a clean title." His eyes moved over Nate's worn coat, dusty boots, and tired horse tied near the porch rail. Then, his smile sharpened. "Some in town may wonder why a ruined San Antonio man is so eager to keep a young girl alone on a remote ranch." Miriam's face hardened. "Careful, Mr. Graye." "I am being careful," Graye said. "Careful for the girl. Careful for the county. Careful for law and order." But Nate heard the threat beneath the kindness. Graye looked past them toward the dry troughs, broken fences, and silent windmill. To anyone else, the ranch looked dead. But Graye's gaze lingered on the windmill, then on the low stretch of ground behind the house, as if he were not seeing ruin at all. He was seeing what the dust had hidden. Nate noticed. For the first time, Nate wondered if Graye was not warning them away from worthless land at all. Maybe he had come because the land was worth more than anyone in town knew. "This ranch ruins people," he said. "It already ruined the Bellamys. I would hate to see it ruin anyone else." Then he climbed back into the buggy as if he had delivered mercy instead of a warning. The sheriff gathered the reins, still unable to look Rose in the eye. Rose's hands were clenched at her sides. Miriam watched the dust rise behind them. And Nate understood something then. Bellamy Ranch had not frightened Warren Graye because it was cursed. It frightened him because Nate, Rose, and Miriam were standing in the way of a theft he had nearly finished. That evening, Rose sat on the porch steps with her arms wrapped around her knees. The sun was sinking red behind the broken fence line, and the whole ranch looked caught between dying and living. Nate stood near the hitching post, staring down the road Graye had taken. "I can leave," he said quietly. "If my being here makes things worse for you, I can ride out before sunrise." Rose turned on him so fast her braid swung over her shoulder. "That's what everyone does," she said. "They leave. Then they call this place cursed so they don't have to feel guilty." The words struck Nate harder than anger would have. Miriam stood in the open doorway behind Rose, silent and watchful. "I don't know how to save a ranch, Rose. I don't know how to beat a banker. And I surely don't know how to be the kind of man anyone should trust." Rose's eyes glistened. "Then don't promise what you can't do," she said. "Promise what you can." Nate looked at the dead windmill, the broken troughs, and the dark windows of the house. Then he looked at the girl who had survived where grown men had given up. "I promise I won't sell this ranch claim to Warren Graye," he said. "I promise I'll help prove this land is still alive. I promise we'll find out what really happened to your grandfather. And I promise the ranch will matter more than money." Miriam studied his face, searching for weakness or lies. Rose stood slowly and held out her small hand. Nate stepped to the porch and shook it like a solemn contract. For the first time since San Antonio, he did not feel like a man running away. He felt like a man standing guard. The next morning, Nate took off his city coat, rolled up his sleeves, and learned just how little he knew about saving land. Rose knew more than any ranch hand he had ever met. She showed him where the fence posts leaned because floodwater had once cut through the low ground. She showed him which trough was cracked beyond repair, and which one could be patched with pitch and patience. She showed him the pump handle, rusted nearly solid, and said her grandfather used to make it sing when the windmill was right. Nate listened. That was the first thing Miriam noticed. He did not laugh at Rose. He did not tell her she was only a girl. He did not pretend his ignorance was wisdom. He listened, and then he worked. By noon, his hands were blistered. By sundown, his shirt was soaked through, his back ached, and he had learned that pride was useless against Texas dirt. Miriam came each day with clean linens, food wrapped in cloth, salve for Rose's cracked hands, and books the girl had missed from school. She kept her rifle inside the front door where she could reach it, and she kept her eyes on Nate until suspicion slowly gave way to something quieter. Respect. One evening she found him kneeling beside the rusted pump, bleeding from 2 knuckles, whispering apologies to the stubborn iron. "You talk to machinery?" she asked. Nate looked up, embarrassed. "Only when it's winning." For the first time, Miriam smiled. It was small, tired, and gone almost at once. But it stayed with Nate. Rose watched them both from the porch with a schoolbook in her lap, pretending not to notice. Day by day, the dead ranch began to sound different. A hammer struck wood. A broom swept dust from the house. Miriam's voice guided Rose through lessons at the kitchen table. And sometimes, when the evening wind moved through the broken windmill, Nate could almost believe it was not a warning anymore. Maybe it was a breath. Maybe Bellamy Ranch was trying to live. On the 6th evening, when the heat finally loosened its grip, Rose led Nate and Miriam behind the house to a patch of mesquite and stone. "You have to promise not to tell the town," she said. Miriam softened. "Rose, we are trying to protect you." "I know," Rose whispered, "but this is how I stayed alive." She pulled aside a screen of dry brush and revealed a narrow path leading down between 2 rocks. Nate went first, then helped Miriam down the uneven ground while Rose followed close behind. At the bottom, water shone in the shadows, clear and quiet, slipping from the earth into a shallow stone basin. Nate stared. A spring. Not much, not enough for a herd, but enough for one brave girl with rain barrels, jars of food, and a will stronger than hunger. Rose showed them the root cellar next. Its wooden door was hidden beneath a slant of old boards behind the house. Rose lifted the latch and led them down into the cool dark. Inside were shelves of preserved peaches, beans, cornmeal, old tools, folded quilts, and small marks scratched into the wall for each month she had survived alone. Miriam touched those marks and covered her mouth. Nate could not speak. He had thought shame was being laughed out of a bank. But this girl had lived in darkness, while an entire town called her home haunted. Near the back wall, Rose pointed to a loose stone half hidden behind a flour sack. "Grandpa called that his last safe pocket," she said softly. "I never opened it. It hurt too much." Miriam looked at the stone, then back at Rose, but she did not press her. Rose looked at them both, frightened of their pity. "My grandpa said land remembers who loves it," she said. "I tried to make it remember me." Nate looked at the spring, the cellar, the jars, and the marks on the wall. Then he looked at Rose. "It did," he said softly. And in that hidden place beneath the dying ranch, Nate understood something he would never forget. Bellamy Ranch had not been waiting for money. It had been waiting for someone brave enough to care. For 3 more days, Nate worked on the windmill until his shoulders burned and his palms split open. Rose stood below, calling up every lesson her grandfather had ever taught her. "Not that bolt," she shouted. "The smaller one. Grandpa said the big one only looks important." Nate wiped sweat from his eyes. "That sounds like advice meant for bankers." Rose laughed. It was a small sound, but Miriam heard it from the porch, and her heart nearly broke from the sweetness of it. By late afternoon, Nate tightened the final piece and climbed down slowly, too tired to hope out loud. Rose touched the windmill post with one hand. Grandpa said if this ever turned again, the ranch would know we had not given up. The wind came soft at first, then stronger. The old blades groaned, shuddered, and turned. Once, twice. Then they caught the breeze and spun against the golden sky. A deep cough sounded from the pipe. Muddy water spat into the trough. Then the water cleared, running brighter with every breath of the pump. Rose pressed both hands to her mouth. Miriam whispered, "Thank God." Nate stood there covered in grease, dust, and blood from his split palms, watching water fill what had been dry for years. For one shining moment, Bellamy Ranch looked alive. Then hoofbeats came hard up the road. Warren Graye arrived on horseback with the sheriff riding beside him. Graye held a folded county notice in one gloved hand. His eyes went straight to the running water. For the first time, his pleasant smile failed him. Then he lifted the paper. "By county order," he said, "this property is unsafe, unlawfully occupied, and subject to immediate review." Rose stepped back as if struck. The windmill turned above them, but the joy was gone. The ranch had found its voice, and Warren Graye had come to silence it. After Graye left, the ranch felt colder, though the Texas sun still burned over the roof. Rose sat at the kitchen table with the county notice spread in front of her. She stared at the black words like they were a hangman's rope. "They'll take me away," she whispered. "Then they'll take the land." Miriam placed a hand over hers. "Not while I still have breath." Nate paced the kitchen, anger rising in him like fire. Graye had debts. Graye had papers. Graye had the sheriff and half the town bowing to his polished boots. The county hearing was set for 3 days later. Miriam refused to leave Rose alone after Graye's threat, so she stayed at the ranch, sleeping in the front room with her rifle beside the door. They needed proof, so they searched the house. They opened drawers, checked loose floorboards, emptied old tins, and shook dust from forgotten corners. Rose searched the places where her grandfather used to hide coins. Miriam looked through school papers, old medicine receipts, and folded household bills. At last, Nate saw the worn Bible resting on the chair, the same Bible he had noticed the first day he found Rose. Rose stiffened. That was Grandma's. Nate stopped with his hand above it. "May I?" Rose swallowed, then nodded. "I'll be careful," he said. Inside, pressed between the pages of Psalms, were folded notes and old receipts tied with a faded blue ribbon. Rose's hand shook as she opened the first one. The handwriting was her grandfather's. Her grandfather had written it before he left during the drought to find work. He had not meant to abandon Rose. He had meant to earn enough money to save the ranch. But even then, he had been afraid. The notes warned that Warren Graye was pressing him with debts he did not recognize. Receipts were missing. Payment dates had been changed. And at the bottom of one page, Gideon had written the same sentence twice. "If anything happens, keep these papers safe." Miriam read the line aloud, her voice breaking. Rose looked down at the Bible as if it had been carrying her grandfather's voice all along. Nate studied the receipts, the dates, and the broken trail of debt. Graye controlled the debt notices, Nate said. Maybe he needed this ranch empty so no one would find what Gideon hid here. Miriam stood suddenly, hope and guilt battling in her face. "I know a railroad clerk in Abilene," she said. "If Gideon Bellamy is alive, he may know how to reach him before the hearing." Rose clutched the notes and receipts to her chest. For the first time, the past was no longer just a wound. It was evidence. On the third night, the night before the county hearing, smoke rose over Bellamy Ranch. Nate woke to Rose screaming from the hallway. "Fire!" He ran outside barefoot, his shirt half-buttoned, and saw the hayshed burning bright against the dark. Flames climbed the old boards and threw orange light across the yard. Miriam was already near the trough with Rose, dragging full buckets toward the fire. Nate seized one and ran toward the burning shed. They fought until their arms shook. Water hissed. Smoke choked them. Sparks flew toward the house, and every time Rose coughed, Miriam pulled her farther back from the heat. By dawn, the shed was nothing but black ribs and ash. Then Warren Graye rode in with 3 townsmen behind him, as if he had been waiting for the smoke to guide him. His voice carried across the yard. "This is what comes of putting ruined property in ruined hands." Nate turned, covered in soot. Graye looked at the burned shed, then at the neighbors. First San Antonio, now Juniper Crossing. Some men do not mean to bring destruction. They simply do. The words landed exactly where Graye aimed them. Deep in Nate's old shame. Miriam saw it happen. She saw Nate's shoulders lower. She saw the doubt return to his face. Later, after the townsman rode away, Miriam found Nate standing near the ashes. "Nate," she said carefully, "I am afraid." He did not answer. "I'm afraid for Rose. Afraid Graye will keep striking until there is nothing left to protect." Nate swallowed. "What are you saying, Miriam?" Her eyes filled with pain. "I don't know." But Nate heard what fear was too gentle to say. Maybe he should leave. Maybe trouble followed him. Maybe leaving was the only useful thing he had left to give them. Behind them, Rose stood in the open doorway, clutching the old Bible to her chest. And for one terrible moment, the ranch felt dead again. Rose did not sleep after the fire. While Nate stood outside near the ashes with shame bent over his shoulders, Miriam sat at the kitchen table with guilt in her hands. Rose took her lantern from its hook by the back door and slipped down into the root cellar alone. She could not let the ranch die because grown folks were frightened. She had been frightened for years. And still, she had stayed. At the back wall, behind the flour sack, Rose found the loose stone her grandfather had once called his last safe pocket. Her hands trembled as she pulled it free. Inside was a wrapped bundle, dry and hidden from mice, dust, and men. She carried it upstairs without a word. Nate looked up first when she entered the kitchen. "What is that?" Rose placed the bundle on the table and untied the cloth. Inside were old ledger pages, a map showing the hidden water lines beneath Bellamy Ranch, and notes written in her grandfather's own handwriting. Miriam leaned closer, her face going pale. "These debts," she whispered. They were changed. Nate saw it too. Numbers had been scratched out. Dates had been altered. Payments were marked missing, but old receipt numbers beside them proved the money had been paid. Then Rose touched a small burned symbol drawn beside the spring line on the water map. "That's the Bellamy brand," she said. "Grandpa put it on every calf we owned. He used the same mark on important ranch papers too, so folks would know they belonged to us." Nate leaned closer, his eyes moving from the brand to the notes beside the spring line. "Then this map belongs to the Bellamys," he said. "And if these notes are true, Graye knew there was water here all along." Nate looked at Miriam. Miriam looked at Rose. The fear in the room changed shape. It did not vanish. It became courage. Nate picked up the ledger pages with careful hands. At sunrise, Juniper Crossing would hear the truth. And this time, Rose Bellamy would not be hidden in the dark. By 10 o'clock, the church hall was full. Farmers stood along the walls. Women crowded the back benches. The sheriff waited near the door, stiff and uneasy. Warren Graye sat at the front with his clean coat, smooth hair, and calm face, looking less like an accuser than a man already certain of victory. Outside the church doors, Rose stopped walking. "What if they look at me like I'm the ghost?" she whispered. Miriam took her hand. "Then they will learn. The ghost was a girl they should have gone looking for." Nate looked at Rose, then at Miriam. His own shame was still there, but it no longer ruled him. Miriam's voice softened. "You are not dangerous because you failed, Nate. You are dangerous to Graye because you finally stopped running." Then the three of them walked inside together. A murmur moved through the room. "That's him. That's the San Antonio man. That poor Bellamy girl." Rose's hand trembled, but she did not hide behind Miriam. Graye stood first. He spoke gently. That made it worse. He told the town Nate was a failed speculator who had purchased land he did not understand. He said Miriam's heart was kind but clouded by womanly sentiment. Then he looked at Rose with false pity and called her a frightened runaway who needed protection from her own imagination. Nate felt every eye turned toward him. For months he had wanted to escape the truth. Now the only way forward was through it. He stood. "Yes," Nate said, "I failed in San Antonio. I trusted the wrong men. I lost money that was not only mine. I came here ashamed enough to hide on a dead ranch." The room went quiet. But shame does not make Warren Graye honest, and failure does not make a child's home worthless. Gray's smile tightened. Then Miriam rose. Her voice shook at first, but it grew stronger with every word. "I saw lantern lights at Bellamy Ranch," she said. "More than once. I told myself someone should look. Then men with badges, ledgers, and polished shoes told me I was imagining things." She looked at Rose, tears bright in her eyes. "I let them make me doubt what Mercy already knew. I will not be silent again." Rose stepped forward last. She looked small before all those people. But when she opened Gideon's water map on the table, her voice was clear. "This is my grandfather's cattle mark," she said, pointing to the burned symbol beside the spring line. "He showed it to me when I was little. And these ledger pages show Mr. Graye changed what we owed." She laid the papers down one by one. False debts, altered dates, hidden payments. A room that had whispered about curses now whispered about crimes. For the first time since Nate had met him, Warren Graye looked afraid. The church doors opened before Graye could speak. An old man stood in the doorway, leaning hard on a cane. His coat was dusty from travel, and his face was carved thin by years of grief. Rose turned. For a moment she made no sound at all. Then the whole room heard her whisper, "Grandpa." Gideon Bellamy took one shaking step forward. "Rosie." Rose ran to him so fast the water map shifted on the table. Miriam caught the edge of it before it could fall. Gideon's cane dropped to the floor as he opened both arms. Rose crashed into him, and he held her like a man gripping the last living piece of his heart. "I thought you were gone," he sobbed. "They told me you died." Rose cried into his coat. "They told me you left me." Every face in the church hall turned toward Warren Graye. Gideon held Rose with one arm and reached into his coat with a trembling hand. He pulled out a packet of saved letters, folded notices, and replies worn soft from being read too many times. "I left during the drought to find work," he said, his voice breaking but strong. "I meant to send money home. I meant to come back with enough to save this ranch." He lifted the packet higher. "I wrote to Rose. I wrote to the sheriff. I wrote to this town. But Warren Graye answered me." The sheriff's face went gray. Gideon's eyes burned with old pain. "He told me my granddaughter was dead. Told me the ranch was lost to curse and debt. Told me there was nothing left to come home to." Rose clung to him harder. "He lied to you," she whispered. Gideon pressed his cheek against her hair. "And he lied to you too." Miriam covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. Near the back bench, an older woman began to cry. "I saw that lantern," she whispered. "Lord, forgive me. I saw it twice and I shut my curtains." The words moved through the room like a wound opening. Nate looked at Graye and saw the truth stripped bare at last. Not bad luck, not a curse, not confusion. A man had tried to steal a ranch by using a child's loneliness and an old man's grief. Graye tried to stand tall, but no one looked at him with respect anymore. The banker's polished mask had cracked in front of the whole town, and behind it, Juniper Crossing saw only greed. By sunset, Warren Graye no longer looked like the most powerful man in Juniper Crossing. He looked small. The sheriff withdrew the county notice with trembling hands. The townspeople stood in shame, unable to meet Rose Bellamy's eyes. Men who had repeated ghost stories lowered their hats. Women who had seen lantern lights and said nothing wiped tears from their cheeks. One by one, they came to the Bellamys. "I'm sorry," a rancher said. "I should have ridden out there." "I heard stories," another whispered. "I never asked if they were true." Miriam stood beside Rose, her hand steady on the girl's shoulder. Gideon looked across the church hall at Nate. "You bought the claim on my ranch for $1, son." Nate lowered his head. "Yes, sir." "And you paid the rest in courage." A week later, Bellamy Ranch no longer sounded dead. Hammers rang from the barn. Neighbors brought seed, lumber, paint, chickens, calves, quilts, and bread still warm from their ovens. The windmill turned over clean water, and little by little, green began to show where dust had ruled. The Bellamys kept their home, and Gideon asked Nate to stay on as a working partner. Rose returned to her lessons at the kitchen table, with Miriam's book stacked beside the family Bible. And Miriam, who had once doubted her own voice, now spoke with a strength no polished man could silence. One evening, after supper on the repaired porch, Nate stood beside Miriam and watched Rose laughing with her grandfather beneath the turning windmill. The same lantern the town once feared now hung from a porch hook, not as a ghost light, but as a welcome. "I came here to disappear," Nate said softly. Miriam slipped her hand into his. "But you stayed to become someone better." Nate looked down at her, his voice quiet. "Only because you helped me believe there was someone better still left in me." Miriam's eyes softened. Then, beneath the warm porch light, she rose on her toes and kissed him gently. It was not a kiss born from rescue or debt. It was a kiss earned through truth, work, courage, and staying when leaving would have been easier. Rose saw them from beside Gideon and smiled for the first time without fear. Nate looked at the land, the family, and the neighbors gathered under the soft Texas dusk. For the first time in a long while, shame did not call his name. Home did. And Bellamy Ranch, once nearly lost because everyone believed it was cursed, became proof of a truth Juniper Crossing would never forget. Broken places can live again. Broken people can too, but only when someone is brave enough to stop running, tell the truth, and care when caring costs everything.